after a very good night's rest. What did I even eat last night? Oh yeah. The last two meals of yesterday was Cane's immediately post workout. Well, as immediately as I could drive there, and then a, I'll say it. Was it a 12? Yeah, a 12-inch pizza from Papa John's later that night. Half cheese, half pepperoni banana pepper. That's sort of my go-to. And after that, combined with all the food I ate yesterday, morning weight with an empty stomach, 259.6. That is fucking nuts. Oh my goodness. 260 around the fucking corner. So again, you got to remember, your weight is going to fluctuate on a day-by-day basis. And that fluctuation isn't muscle, it's not fat, it's mainly just water. So I wouldn't be surprised if most of that poundage was really just from the fact that I had a lot of sodium, more than normal, and maybe it made me hold a little bit more water. But still not a bad sign. Definitely not a bad sign. I go so far as to say it's a fucking sweet sign. So another month, I would love for 260 to be like my lightest weight in that fluctuation, and then maybe be floating around the 265s or so. Not that I care about the weight itself. That's not really the point. The point is just to build, contractile tissue. So the weight is just a number. You kind of, judging yourself off the mirror and whatever, and how big you're getting. But even though I say that, the weight is not just a fucking number, right? You feel fucking cool when you finally step on the scale at 200. I remember the first time I was a 200 pounder. It was like Christmas dinner in I don't remember, maybe like 2019 or something. I don't know. It was back when I was in high school, and I had just eaten a fuck ton of food. So I went into the bathroom to step on the scale with like a fucking like distended stomach from how much food I ate. And I was like 205. Coolest thing that I've ever fucking done. And don't worry, well, maybe not you, but I don't think I'm going to lose that sort of wow factor about hitting a new personal best, at least in terms of weight. I'm fucking weight maxing like Nikocado avocado. Maybe in a slightly different manner, but you get the idea. Lots of food. So I'm going to couple this steep calorie surplus, which I'm actually starting to ramp up, with a solid arm day today. You know what skull crushers from the last arm day? I was almost going to delay today's arm day. Or maybe just if I delayed it, I would have just done shoulders or like forearms or something. But I was going to push arms back a day because yesterday my triceps, the long head, right, the really kind of big chunk on the bottom, they were still sore from doing those heavy skull crushers, 3 days prior. But today they feel good. Typically, it's probably not going to be in your best interest to train a muscle if it's still really sore. So that's sort of my approach there. Like if today, just by sitting here and doing a flex, if my triceps were still sore, then I'd have to say, okay, well, we'll save them for tomorrow. It just probably wouldn't be, like there'd be no need to stimulate them anymore because they haven't recovered from the stimulus that they already, are suffering from. It's like, what's it like? I can't tell you what it's like, but you get what I'm saying. Right? If you're actually fucking still sore, take a rest day, man. Don't go in, Your body does need rest. I'm not arguing that. If I'm ever really fucking tired, fatigued, sore, anything under the sun, where I'm going in to hit a chest day, but I can still feel that my chest is fucking sore as shit, I'm probably not going to hit chest. I will, however, probably just do something else and save chest for another day. Because I'm not so inclined to just throw rest days out like I've got them, like they grow on trees. I think I'm a little bit too much of a nut for that. But I won't train a muscle if it is, you know, in a compromised state. But I will train other muscles. If you did a crazy ass leg day yesterday and your legs are still fucking sore, like even, I mean, just sitting there flexing your hamstrings, you can feel them. They're like, they probably got some residual, what's the word I'm thinking of? Residual inflammation from how pumped you got them yesterday. They can be totally wrecked. I think you're still going to be able to have a good chest day. I think you could still have a pretty good back day. I don't think that that's going to affect you, right? Just because my fucking chest is absolutely thrashed doesn't mean that my back isn't ready to get hit hard. So that's always been my approach. If a part of your body is sore, who gives a shit, man? Hit something else. You know, if I didn't have a specific split, like the way I go about it is legs, chest, back, arms. I'm a little spoiled because my shoulders are kind of overdeveloped, so I don't hit them as often. So shoulders isn't really in the routine that much. I do throw them in occasionally with chest and back, but it's legs, chest, back, arms. And going through that loop, like day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, like it's just a constant loop. Even though, you know, my legs are still sore here, by the time I come back, they're fine. And if they were sore, like I was just saying, I wouldn't hit them, I'd hit something else. So you could not even really have a dedicated workout split. And all you could do is just go into the gym and think to yourself, okay, what haven't I hit for a little bit? What haven't I hit for a few days? Kind of awkward 4-way intersection just now. But, you know, what haven't I hit? Oh, I haven't done back for a little bit. Or you could even go simpler than that and just be like, okay, what isn't sore? Or what feels really fresh? Okay, my arms are still kind of sore. My legs are pretty tired. Yeah, I can feel my back a little bit. Okay, let's do chest. I think even if you were to do something like that, you'd probably still hit everything with a reasonable frequency. I'm not saying that's how I go about it, but I guess you could. But enough chatting. Let's just hope it's not too busy and fucking destroy my arms as if they fucking owe me money. Okay, instead of starting off with push downs as hard as I can, I'll be a little bit lighter today. Not that they hurt, but I can tell from that last arm day, my elbows are a little bit more tender than normal. So I don't want to keep flaring it up by putting like a billion pounds of fucking tension on them. So today might ease into the weight a little bit more than normal, but I definitely want to do skull crushers again. But first, single arm push downs, squeeze. It's still moderate weight, don't worry. Oh my God. Okay. Oh, a few more like that. Okay. All right. Even heavier for this one. All right. That might have been too heavy. I'll go down a little bit, and then after one more set, move on to something else. Okay, so this might just be something that kind of triggers me in my mind, but I feel a little bit awkward jumping into like a double-sided movement, like a two-hand push down or a dip machine right after doing single-sided stuff, because I feel like in my mind, if I were to jump over to the dip machine, which I'm about to, if I do all of my right arm first and then all of my left arm, my right arm will get like an extra 30 seconds or 45 seconds of rest. It probably doesn't matter that much, but sometimes whenever I transition from a single-sided movement to a double, I'll do this sort of style of set where instead of all of one side, then all the other, I'll do like 5 reps on one side and then 5 on the other, and then go back and forth, and hit failure that way. I'm not saying it's better or worse than a straight set, but it is different, and I like different. Okay. Okay, I got to do drop set. Yeah. Yeah. No, man. Okay, one more. Okay. Okay. Let's move on. Dip machine's even opened up for me. Let's go. The stack on this dip machine is fucking heavy. This isn't just a throw the weight around kind of set. Or, wait, no, it is a throw the weight around a set. Either way, tons of fucking tension on my triceps. And with these machine dips, I do feel a lot of long head activation. I think I'm not going to do skull crushers. I said I would, but I know it would probably kind of put a lot of pressure on my elbows. And historically, whenever I do skull crushers, lift to lift to lift to lift, back to back, I always get kind of tender elbows. Not that bad, but if I can avoid it, of course I'm gonna. So heavy set here. Maybe, well, I'll keep doing sets until I feel like I'm done. Yeah. 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 Oh my God. Oh. Yeah, a few more. One more. One stinking more. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. Something about that first part made me think, do a drop set. No. Oh my God. Okay. Triceps fucking... I might just call it there. I need to think about it for a few minutes. I can tell I feel a little, not tender, but yeah, just a little tender. So rather than try to lunk around the 85s, let's be reasonable and just do the 65s. So let's get some kind of song playing and go nuts. Regardless of weight, regardless of how heavy you're going, make sure your sets are hard. Because honestly, I think that's the factor which is really going to determine a good lift or a bad lift. Look, I love talking about how much I like throwing weight around, ego lifting to an extent. And I do like that. Honestly, if I could do that all the time, I probably would. But that's sort of like that's the upper end. That's the crazy sets. There are a lot of sets, which is a weight you can manage. And you just have to push through the burn of that, 12, 13, 14, however many reps you got to get. A hard set of the 50s is just as hard as the hard set with the 80s, as long as you actually bring it. That's really the main point I'm trying to say there. Oh my God, fuck. Hi. One more. Oh my God. I lied. One more. Okay. I can breathe for a second. Make this a rest pause set. Oh my God, okay. Okay. Let's, oh my goodness. Let's move on to something. Maybe preachers. You know what I find myself rarely doing? is reasonably lighter squeezing sets for biceps. A lot of the time my sets, I just go crazy heavy, ton of tension on them, and it works. But I'm taking a little bit of inspo from a Kevin Levrone video that I saw where he's doing single arm machine curls just like this. And of course, you know, he's a fucking 300-pound freak back in those days, but look, I'll try my best. But this is actually moderate weight. I'm really just trying to, you know, burn out squeeze. I'm not really going to hit failure from not being able to do one more rep, like I'm going to get stuck at the bottom. It'll be kind of a gradual lack of range of motion until I can barely move, which I love. Okay. Same machine, heavier weight. This set's going to be a little bit more rapid with the reps. Instead of like a pause, I'm just going to try to burn out as quick as possible. Well, as quick as reasonable. Oh, fuck. I think I'm just going to spam these. These are fucking sweet. Maybe 2 or 3 more. We go bows down. Slight change of plans. Last few sets are going to be alternating style. 5 reps, 5 reps, 5 reps, 5 reps. Like I was doing on triceps earlier. And a little heavier too. Alright, come on, fuck it, let's get real. Alright. Okay. Oh my God. Okay. Okay. All right, I fucking lied. That was the last set. I better have a fucking tape measure in my... Fuck. Let me check my bag. I think I brought it, but I also think I forgot. All right. Well, I feel fucking freakier than I ever have before. I know I said it on the way in, but I got to reiterate it. 259.6 fucking pounds in the morning before eating anything. Oh my God. So I actually did remember the measuring tape. So let's get some real numerical data instead of just, you know, subjectively saying, holy shit, I'm fucking pumped. I get to say, holy shit, I'm 19 and 7/8 inches pumped. Much more accurate. Come on. Oh. Fuck. It's fucking hard for me to even like reach to grab my shirt collar. Oh man. Okay, let's oh Jesus, what do we do first? Pose or get a measurement? Yeah, let's measure it. You gotta remember, as soon as you stop lifting, your pump begins diminishing. So I better get this value before it fades. And no cheating. Don't be a fucking chump. Come on. Oh, that's not the peak. There we go. Let's see, is that? Oh, yeah, there we go. Come on. Damn. 19 and 3 fucking quarter. But, then again, I'm not upset by that. I do want them to be 20 inches eventually, but the fact that 19 and 3 quarter still looks this crazy just means 20 inches is going to be even more fucking nuts. So, almost bittersweet. Yeah, same thing, 19 and 3 quarter. Not bad. But 20 is fucking nuts. But let's actually see how they look. I can guarantee this is the biggest my arms have ever been. Pumped, of course, but that's obvious. Dude, I love a fucking lat spread with an arm pump. Oh my goodness. All right, what else even is there? Yeah, this one's kind of crazy when I'm really dieted down and lean. But let's just take a seat and reflect. Oh my goodness. So, I'm about as carved up as I can fucking get. And if you've ever been seriously fucking carved up, like you've eaten a crazy amount of food for like an entire fucking week, then you know that if you just get pumped after like one fucking set. Honestly, after I was done with the single arm pushdowns and I was trying to get into the dip machine, it was fucking kind of uncomfortable just how swollen my triceps were. Pumped to uncomfortability. That's a good fucking sign. So let's I'll get one little host lift rant before we get in the car. Partially just because I want to keep looking at myself with an arm pump. But do you have an arm day? Do you have a dedicated arm day in your routine? You know, if you're a diehard push-pull legs fan, then you don't. All you have is chest and tries and then back and bis. Or chest, shoulders, and tries. You get what I'm saying. And I've done it before, but look, there's just something special. There's just something special about a day completely dedicated to your fucking arms. Now, maybe that's just me because not naturally, but just based on how my build is, my arms aren't necessarily a strong point. They're not too far behind either, but they don't really jump out at you specifically. I think my shoulders might do that a little more. So I guess if you got crazy ass arms just for whatever reason, then you might not need a dedicated arm day. And honestly, would it even make a difference? I don't know. Part of the reason I'm only saying to do an arm day is because I like it so much that I feel like it's just fucking fun. But there's definitely something to looking at your fucking arms with your triceps and your biceps pumped up to hell. And honestly, I probably got a little bit of a residual forearm pump just because every movement that I was doing today, I guess, some of those tricep movements, maybe not so much. But the curls, even though I was using straps, I was still holding on to them pretty hard, getting some fucking forearm activation. So, arms fully pumped, stomach empty. I gotta eat. Not empty, but I'm fucking hungry. So, very good day. Record breaking. Personal record breaking. But don't worry. That's just one step closer to 300. So, content, but never satisfied. 300 pounds. How many kilos is that? How many kilos is that? 130? 130? I don't know. I'm not from Europe. Either way, heavy. But let's get out of here. After one more double buy. Oh my god, I love it. Okay, let's get in the car for real this time. Oh yeah. Oh, freaking yeah. Arms have been destroyed. And without even that much weight. Very cool. Very freaking cool. Yeah, I mean, look, it's not like I think weight is everything. You know, I don't think that my biceps will really grow much better than they are, if you can grow at all, if I try to do like 100-pound dumbbell curls for like a set of 3. You know, don't worry, that's not my fucking mentality. But I do, look, when people sort of talk about like scientific explanations of like muscle growth and everything else, a lot of the times I think it's a little bit overcomplicated jargon. Like, we get the gist, just lift hard. But when I hear people talk about mechanical, this is fucking crazy. I stopped first, and 3 cars in this intersection went before I could. Yeah, that was fucking nuts. But so when people explain this shit, for the most part, I say, fucking do a hard set. But when they talk about mechanical tension being the driver of growth, I do like that. That makes a little bit of fucking sense to me. It would make sense that if you do a set as hard as you fucking can, and with a weight that only allows you to do, you know, maybe 12, 13 reps, then guess what? I think that's going to be a better set than if you were to do half of that weight for the same amount of reps. Right? Because then you wouldn't really be finishing the set at failure. You would just be fucking doing bullshit fluff work, you know? So, as detailed as you may want to get into your training and like, you know, talk about meso reps and whatever else, I really am a firm believer that if you just go in and you do your hard sets, and they're actually hard, all of them, you know, none of them are really fluff. Warm-up sets, of course, are different. You're warming up, you're getting ready to do your real sets. But if all your working sets, you actually push yourself, look, as hard as you can muster, for the most part. I know that for me, sometimes I call a set early. Like if I'm doing a set of squats, sometimes I'll rack it, even though I should probably have gone for one more. Stuff like that. But if on average, your sets are legit, look, man, I think that's as good as you can do it. You know, there's no reason to overcomplicate it by adding anything. You know, it's just like, I'm trying to think of an analogy that will sort of convey the idea I'm imagining here. It's like, I can't even tell you. Look, I think you just go to the gym, you do a hard workout, and you know it's hard. Guess what? You're in the green. You're good. Now, if you do a scrappy workout, you don't go hard, you're out of the zone, you're not really into it, you're fucking thinking about other shit in your day. What the fuck was that? Just random bullshit. Guess what, man? You're probably not going to have a good lift. Or you're not going to have good results if that's what most of your lifts are like. So, any kind of training style you like. If you're a fucking diehard Mike Isertal and I forget the other guy's name. Not a diss. They're both fucking huge. But if you're a diehard fan of guys like that who really love detailing every aspect of everything, fuck, man, I love it. But train hard, No matter what sort of style of training you do, the guys who train the hardest get the best results. And, well, they've got to match that with their diet and recovery. But I think anybody who's really training hard is going to prioritize that if they actually care about their gains. So, conclusive statement, go hard, be a freak. Guess what? I think you're going to see some reasonable results as time progresses. But what else is there to discuss? Yeah, so skull crushers, it's kind of hit or miss. So when I think of a skull crusher, look, I can load up my triceps with a ton of weight, and it's not overhead, but it's kind of like an overhead stretch position because my arms are kind of, up by my face or so. So tons of long head activation. But what sucks is it kind of wrenches your elbows in a little bit of an unnatural way. And that's just sort of the nature of anything that's kind of overhead. Like a lot of push downs, like a normal push down, a rope, or a straight bar, that's a pretty natural movement. This is kind of just me being a bro science dude, whatever, but you gotta think, every time you fell over when we were fucking evolving, you're kind of doing that, right? Your triceps are kind of made to do that sort of movement, to push down and push your body back up. Very rarely would I assume that our Neanderthal cousins were doing anything overhead extending like that. So it is a little bit of a compromised movement for your arm, I think. But I do like it. The stretch on the long head is fucking killer. So I am going to try to get a little bit more of those going. I feel... my favorite tricep machine. I'm not going to count cables as a machine. I like probably cable pushdowns the most as a tricep movement. But my favorite tricep machine isn't a dip machine. It's an overhead tricep extension where it has like a metal arm across a lever and it's like an easy bar curl. Dude, that is my favorite fucking machine. And I get to use it so rarely because they're nowhere to be found. I've gone to 2 gyms in my life that had them. The first time I loved it, and then the second time I wasn't doing triceps, so I didn't get to use it. And just think about that. Just one machine that I saw and tried once is still haunting me because I want to do it again. Oh, I love it. I need to somehow acquire one. Imagine that, going to the gym, doing a full arm day, and coming back to the house or the garage to use one specific machine. Whatever it takes, but probably not. And it sucks because it's so specific that I don't know, something about it, nothing else can really emulate it. When I do overhead dumbbell extensions, I usually do one arm at a time, but it's still a pretty similar movement. It just doesn't feel the same. It doesn't have that same strength curve. I really hate doing overhead rope, where you grab a cable and you kind of swing it behind your head and you're holding the rope. That doesn't do it for me either, man. Ooh. My gym, or my school gym, they've gradually been getting a lot of new equipment. Yikes, man. I wish that would have been on the list. That would have been fucking nice. But whatever. No point complaining about it. Just make do with what you have. So, triceps, love it. Arms, love it. Buys, love it. I was thinking about throwing forearms in at the end of today, but I kind of said, whatever. So maybe I'll do them. Maybe I'll do them tomorrow. Honestly, I'm supposed to have legs tomorrow, but if you watched the post down in the last video, I fucking crashed my bike. on my way to class. I think there was like some fucking, I was taking a turn way too sharp, and like my tires skidded out from underneath me. So I kind of fell, like, I just sort of slid into the ground. It wasn't really a crash, more just kind of a fall. But I scraped the fuck out of my left knee. Like my whole knee pad area of skin is just like carpet burned to shit. Uh, which, like, not bad, but I do think that maybe my fucking patella and everything else might be just a little bit tender from having taken, a nearly 260-pound build straight to it onto the concrete. So tomorrow may not be legs. Tomorrow may be like shoulders and forearms or something. If I feel like I should just give my knee a little bit of rest. I don't think I'm like injured. Like just sitting here and like really flexing, like pushing into the floor of the car. Like it feels all right, but I can definitely tell that whole area is swollen. Maybe not even from just like brute trauma, but just the fact that I got so much skin damage. So tomorrow may not be legs. Tomorrow may be just shoulders and forearms. So I can let that recover a little bit. But no matter what the lift is, it's still gonna go fucking hard. Come on, not even a question. In between sets, I was chatting it up for a little, and one guy goes, "Should I do the 75s or the 80s?" He looked at one of my buddies. And he's like, "Should I do the 75s or the 80s?" And I'm like, "All right, do you want to get big or small?" So he did the 80s, of course. I don't think that's a bad move. I think if you're torn between two weights, then what that means is some part of you is telling you, okay, I can do this, but it would probably be easier for me to go a little lighter. Look, I could do these, but it's probably a little bit easier if I go a little lighter, go easier. Now, I'm not saying do a weight that's going to hurt you, but look, I really do think you got to push yourself. The guys who can go out of their comfort range and do weight, which makes them nervous, and not like nervous because of injury, but nervous because of the fact that they're really going to have to fucking exert themselves. Like, for me with barbell squats, I've gradually gotten more comfortable with them because, probably just because I've done them for a while, but there's a time when, before I would come into a leg day, even if I only had one really heavy set of squats planned, I would still be kind of anxious about it. Like, I'd be thinking about that set like 2 days in advance, just because I would really get in my head, like get fucking crazy about it. But sets like that where it actually makes you a little nervous, I think that's where you're really gonna fucking, peel off from the crowd. You're gonna gap the herd when you do stuff like that. So if you're about to do something like that, let's say you're about to bench your first set of 225 for 10. You got 7 the week before, but you got a good night's rest. You had a lot of food. You feel very well hydrated. You're strong, right? 225 for 10. Get a spotter, man. Get a spotter. Go for it. Go hard. I'm trying to think of what other sets really make me nervous like that. Yeah, nothing. I don't know. Like, I get hype. I get really fucking, like fucking huff and puff and like grunt before I do my sets. But honestly, for me, nothing really compares to the squat. Probably just because it's so fucking just taxing all around. But again, I'm kind of just staying on the same theme of what I was talking about a minute ago. Go hard, So, what else is there to? Let's think of another topic. Let's think of another little something something. Oh, it's been a while. I feel like I don't really say anything, or I feel like maybe subconsciously I don't say anything too much where I'm like calling people out for shit. Usually a lot of these talks I'm like trying to hype you up, talking about like positives or whatever, going hard. But look, man, it's Friday night. It's Friday freaking night. And I know that the gym was a little bit less packed tonight because a good crowd was out pre-gaming and they're going to fucking party. Look, man, I'll say this. It's not going to kill you, okay? And I'm not a health nut either. That's not why I say don't drink or don't do any variety of recreational drugs. But I'll say this, man. I find a very low correlation between ballers and guys who drink consistently or do anything like that consistently, right? Every blue moon, I mean, whatever, that's your deal, that's your prerogative. And I'm not your dad. I'm not your fucking dad. Do whatever the hell you want. But if this is how many ballers there are in the world, this little distance here, this gap, and this is how many people are fucking getting fucked up on a consistent basis, look, there might be a tiny fucking overlap, a teeny overlap, where those two things work out in your favor. So, and what sucks is I feel like you know it too. Like people who do that, they know, like everybody knows it's not good for you. Everybody knows that it's, and like I'm not Gary Vee. I'm not saying that every day you have to be like on your grind, working 24/7 towards like whatever. But it's like if you tell your kids like, oh, what's good for you? Oh, is it good to do your homework? Is it good to fucking eat your vegetables? Is it good to play outside? And is it good to take your Flintstones gummy before bed? Like we all know if we're doing something good or if we're doing something bad. So I think the people who consistently do shit which really isn't in their favor and it's only kind of playing into like immediate satisfaction, as time passes you kind of just staying stagnant. I mean, I'm not trying to rip on you, but I'm just kind of making a little bit of an observation. So take with that what you will. Honestly, I feel like if you're in the lifting community, I might be preaching to the choir here. Most of you guys, I assume, don't drink too much. Just because if you're a lifter and you care about growing muscle, the more you do it, you're kind of going to gradually distance yourself from anything which is going to fuck with that. So, look, man, we've seen the studies. Alcohol consumption, 25% reduction in muscle protein synthesis. And even just on a subjective level, like not even getting into that, I say this phrase every time. I have never gone into the gym and heard someone say, dude, holy fuck. Fuck, dude, I was fucked up last night. I feel great. I feel awesome today. It just never happens. So take with that what you will, man. Take with that what you freaking will. But I tell you what, though, if I know something's not really gonna keep me on my schedule, I'm probably not gonna do it. So that's enough of that that's enough of my dare speech. Maybe I should get a fucking dare t-shirt to wear. But go hard. Don't party too much. What else do I stand for? Yeah, those are probably the big ones. Are you tracking your macros? This will be my last little rant. It's been a while since I've talked about macro tracking. Are you tracking them on a consistent basis? No, you're not. No, you're stinking not. So, look, man, I'll give you a play-by-play here. Right? Go on the App Store and just look up. Honestly, you could probably just look up dieting app. There's a ton of them. There's a fucking million. It's all the same shit. Macro tracker, whatever. It's all the same stuff. And what you can do is you can plug in. Some of them are kind of automatic. Like you could plug in your weight, you could plug in your height, your activity level, and it'll kind of pump out some numbers for you if you don't really want to think about it. But I'd say as a rule of thumb, and I'm not saying this is like an exact fucking perfect method, but just kind of what I like is just regardless of whether or not you're bulking up or cutting down, your protein, I think you're definitely safe at 1 gram per pound of body weight. So if you're a 200 pounder, 200 grams is about right. If you're a 100 pounder, 100 grams. If you're a 300 pounder, you get what I'm saying there. And then when it comes to fats and proteins, when it comes to fats and carbs, those are what I would sort of consider more like your fuel sources, right? Like the proteins like building blocks, right? Keep you strong, let you build some muscle. But the carbs and fats, that's actually what you're kind of burning off for energy for the most part. And this is kind of a bro sciencey explanation, but I think it's still legit. So I always have way more carbs than fats because you need a certain amount of fats. It's just good for you, omega-3 style shit like that. So I'd say when I diet down, I'm aiming for maybe 75 grams of fat ish, and then carbs is however many I need to stay in a calorie deficit. But right now that I'm bulking up, the carbs and fats will fluctuate. Some days I'll have some days where I'm up at like 200 grams of fats, and like maybe only 600 grams of carbs, or I'll have days where I'm at like 100 grams of fat and like 800 grams of carbs. But I'd say maybe, I don't know, a third of your body weight per, or no, for every pound that you weigh, maybe 1/3 gram of fat sounds about right. So if you're a 180-pound dude, I'd say every day if you told me you're eating 60 grams of fat, it sounds about right. It sounds about freaking right. And then really what fluctuates the most for me when I'm dieting, either bulking up or trying to cut down, is it's going to be my carb intake. So now that I'm bulking up, I mean, every time I fucking post out, I'm talking about like how carbed up I am. So I'm as many carbs as you need to grow. I'd say that's what you got to do. And there's no cut and dry method. Like you can look online, you can look up like, best macros for muscle growth, or like what are my daily macros, and you can plug your height. You can plug your weight, height, activity level, gender. You plug that shit in and it'll kind of pump out a number for you. But that's kind of just an estimation, right? They don't know your body. Everybody's fucking different. So you really have to judge it off of the scale. So this is not a specific like recommendation, but this wouldn't be out of the question, I would say. Let's say you're a 180-pound dude. 14% body fat, right? Moderately lean, just normal 180-pounder. I'd say if you told me your macros for bulking were, 180 grams of protein, 60 grams of fat, and then let's think here, maybe trying to do some math here. Then maybe 450 grams of carbs. I think that adds up to about 3,500 calories or so, maybe 36. It's kind of hard for me to do my math in my head. But if you told me that's how many macros you're hitting per day, I'd say, yeah, man, that's about right. And if you were gaining weight on a steady, consistent basis over the course of weeks, then that's killer. But really, once you start doing it, once you start tracking it and looking at your weight on the scale, you do just get a better grasp of it. Like when I think about bulking, for me, it's not really a science. I'm kind of going by feel. Like, okay, my weight's been kind of steady for the last week. I think I should eat a little bit more, right? Stuff like that. It's like you've got a fucking computer code in your head. All right. If your weight slows down, then eat more calories. Right? That's simple. But I think the people who really need to hear this are the guys who can't gain weight, and not necessarily for a lack of trying, but more so just due to a lack of kind of understanding. And this isn't meant to be like a dig, but if you told somebody like, hey, the reason you're not gaining weight is because you're not eating enough food, a lot of the times people jump to be self-defensive, and they're like, dude, I eat so much. What are you talking about? I just have a fast metabolism. I eat so much. And then the guy telling them is like, okay, whatever, just, I don't want to. When people tell me that, I just say, okay, man, yeah, whatever, move on. But if they actually did start eating more and they did actually see that their weight was going up on the scale, they kind of realize like, oh shit, they were right. So if you've been locked in at the same weight and you think you're bulking, if you actually think that you're trying to gain weight and you're still 185 pounds after 6 months, I hate to break it to you, but you need to eat some more fucking carbs. For the most part, I don't think your training is always the answer to change. People are very jumpy. People have a hair trigger on like changing their routine and their style. Even I do it too. I always talk about like, oh, I want to start doing random bullshit, whatever. So changing your split, look, it's not the answer. Unless you're doing a really wacky ass split. If you're doing full body every day, I think your split could work. I think your split could be worked on in a bodybuilding context. So, but if you're doing everything about twice a week with a moderate amount of volume, maybe like around 20-ish sets per week per body part. So that'd be like 10 sets per lift. Chest, 10 total sets. Back, 10 total sets. Some shit like that. Around there, I'd say is about right. Now, you can do more, you can do less, and it'll all work. But everybody's so prone to like, oh, I got to change my training style. Oh, I got to add rest days. Or I got to take away rest days. For any character like that, if they're, plateaued, look, you could take half. If you had 100 people and they were all plateaued, if you take half of them and totally flip their training style around, I don't think much would happen. But if you took the other half and you gave them an extra 500 calories of food per day and they actually ate it, they would make gains. So people really underestimate the power of calories when it comes to body modification. Or, well, maybe not body modification. What's a better term? Body weight fluctuation, maybe? Because I could train as hard as I fucking want. Perfect training. I could have a whole team of scientists fucking, analyzing my muscle fibers and my genetics and like telling me exactly what kind of sets are the best for me. But if I never ate more than 2,000 calories, I would never grow. I would just stay the same size. Now, given I'd probably be fucking diced and pretty muscular too, and strong, but I wouldn't be any bigger. When it comes to gaining size, calories are king. And I think I can go ahead and leave you with that. So, I'm not really too detailed when it comes to this stuff. I'm sort of talking about a lot of these aspects of lifting in a very all-encompassing, kind of simplified way. But if you're interested in getting your macros tracked, just fucking look up how to do it, man. There's YouTube videos out there where people spend fucking 30 minutes elaborately explaining all this shit in way more detail than I can. Right, so look some shit up like that, watch it, maybe take a little bit of notes. When I was a starter lifter, I don't do it as much now, but I'd be watching all sorts of fucking everybody on like, workout splits and like how many sets should I do, and like I've got like Google Docs full of like okay, this is what I want to try for a certain period of time, like stuff like that. Or it would make sense to an extent if you kind of study this shit and you learn a lot of, maybe not even a lot, but if you get a hold of some basic information, which might not be just what's the word I'm trying to think of? Like some of the shit isn't necessarily super intuitive. So if you get a hold on the basics, I think you can set yourself up for a pretty solid trajectory, muscle growth wise. So I think that's all I got. Time for food, home, more food, even more food after that, and then a good night's rest before cardio and whatever the lift ends up being tomorrow, which, like I was saying a second ago, to be determined. But I will see you next time for that.